Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Inside Sports Podcast. That is the DE capitalized because this is all a daily Egyptian production. I am your host and assistant sports editor, Cole Daly. This is my co-host,
Joey Bernard. I am the sports editor. He's my assistant.
I guess I'm the Dwight Schrute, as Michael Scott. But yeah, we want to open up by doing a little Dogs at the Vet segment. That is in reference to do a little Salukis sports check-in. And so we, I guess first we should talk about the women's soccer team, who's coming off of a win against Purdue Fort Wayne, where they won 2-1 on Sunday. Currently sit at 2-2, which that's like our first two wins.
Excited.
Yeah, it's our first 2 wins. We're on a 2-win streak, and we're doing good because last 2 years we didn't manage to get a win, but now we're sitting at 500. I think really Coach Roberts has really led the way, and we look about better in almost every single category. So I'm really kind of excited to see what we'll get this season, and I don't know, we're kind of like a worst to first type thing. Hopefully we can remain hopeful.
Win the conference?
Maybe. We'll see. But then women's volleyball played at the Colonel Classic this weekend, right?
Yeah, for sure. 3 games this weekend over in Louisiana. I'm really impressed with a lot of the new members of the team. A lot of them are freshmen. Cece Ballman, Claudia Bobb, and Brittany Burdett. All of them had just really encouraging performances this tournament over the 3 games. Their 2 wins were 3-0 sweeps. Really excited about that, although the one loss was a 3-0 sweep against us. So that was not good, obviously, but a nice finish as well. And they beat the hosts, the Colonels.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just really excited about that. Hoping that they can bring that into next week's tournament. Which is the Central Arkansas Invitational in Arkansas.
Yep.
Friday and Saturday. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just very excited about what the volleyball team can do this year.
They currently sit at 3-3, and they kind of had a good start to the season last year before, unfortunately, not winning a single conference game, which a little rough. But obviously, I think what you said with the newcomers, whether it be freshmen or transfers, they've really kind of lit up the board. And I went and watched the game at the Banterra Center that was held, and it just looks cleaner. It looks cleaner in almost every aspect of the game. I'm really also hopeful for our women's volleyball team. When we talk about 2 teams rising up, might as well talk about perhaps a team that fell from grace this weekend. The SIU football team, who famously last year rose all the way up to number 3 in the rankings before losing in an upset game to Northern Iowa and kind of not spiraling. That's a hard way to put it for a very successful season.
Just a bad week.
It was, yeah. But we happened to play the only ranked matchup game at the FCS where we played number 14 ranked Incarnate Word. And we unfortunately lost that game pretty heftily. It's a little discombobulated. The offensive line on both sides of the ball, we couldn't really put pressure on their quarterback. They were putting a lot of pressure on ours. Baker got sacked 5.5 times, and our O-line allowed 15 tackles for losses, so we just can't lose the battle in the trenches. Talk about Baker, getting a lot of pressure put on him. I think it's fair to say that he was forcing things at times. I mean, he played a pretty great game for what he was given, but there was one play, I don't know, can't remember whether it was second or third quarter, where he falls and he's trying to make a diving throw, one that you'd see in, and
Patrick Mahomes.
And exactly, he's making a Patrick Mahomes type play. The only thing is they got picked off, and luckily his knees were down. But it just seemed like SIU was making a lot of silly mistakes. Obviously, the special teams with 2 punts that went right over the punter's head. I mean, it seems over the season these things will get corrected. We know that for sure, but we really need to sharpen up on defense and really kind of try and limit our mistakes if we want to end up having a season like we did last year, really prove our initial preseason top 10 ranking. I mean, you agree with all that?
Oh, yeah, and you could tell when Baker was protected, he did seem somewhat comfortable at least.
That's right, yeah, he got the ball to Cox and he got the ball to Gibson plenty of times.
For sure, it just, when he wasn't, obviously that makes the quarterback a little discombobulated, so maybe he just wasn't anticipating the Incarnate Word pass rush that day. Who knows? Maybe they just completely had a blip of a game about how good their pass.
First game of the year.
Yeah,
I mean,
first game of the year.
It definitely shouldn't make too much out of this, but it definitely did look a little messy out there, and we're hoping to really improve next week against our rivalry game against SEMO in the War for the Wheel. And luckily enough, we are actually going to cut to our interview with offensive line coach Dan Clark for the Salukis, of course, where we're going to talk more about that rivalry game against SEMO, and we're really going to deep dive into what happened last week, how can we improve on it, and what does the War of the Wheel mean to everybody involved. So we're going to go ahead and cut to that. Hello, everyone. We're now here with Dan Clark, who's going to be our first ever guest on the Saluki Space segment, where we talk to SIU coaching staff, players, anybody behind the camera. We basically get the piece of their mind, whether it happened on the field or whether it was just going on in their personal lives. So it's great to have you here, and thanks for being our first guest.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Well, we might as well jump into the questions here. Obviously, it's a tough loss against Incarnate Word last weekend. There's no easy way to put it. Do you have any notes, not necessarily just with the offensive line, but anything that, just that you thought about last game and where you guys can get better going forward?
Oh, I think it's, it's a humbling, humbling loss when you the guys work so hard, for a month and camp and preparing themselves for the season, and you go down and you don't play very good. Mm-hmm. It is a humbling experience, and for the kids, for the coaching staff, and fans, and everybody's disappointed. Nobody. We want to put a good product out there. For ourselves, for our players, for our fans, for our families, and that's the pride and respect that the staff, these players have, and so a lot of pride has been bruised coming off that trip, and you go back and you watch the film, and it really comes back to little things with this game is played in a matter of inches, and you can take back 6-7 plays, and that's a different game.
That's right.
We're down 10 points with 3 minutes in the third quarter, and we played so bad offensively, and we didn't look up there and say, we played this bad and we're only down 10. We had a chance to really change the game. Somebody step up and do their job. And that's collectively what 11 guys have to do out there, and we didn't get it done Saturday.
Gotcha.
So it was an interesting kind of situation just with that game. There was a little bit of a delay, a couple different things, the lightning, then the lights there. Obviously, I'm sure you don't want to make any excuses for the type of performance, but I mean, did that have anything on the minds of the players throughout the game, throughout the whole situation?
Well, you won't let them use it as an excuse, as a coaching staff. You don't ever give your players that. You always teach them how to, respond after adversity. And the rain delay, and the lights going out, and it just, there's a routine to this game, and yeah, it got bumped a little bit, but they got bumped too. They had the same adversity and the same delay again. The weather delay and lights going out, and so we just gotta do a better job, responding with adversity. And I think you find out what kind of person you are. Each person taking a look in the mirror a little bit harder, and understanding what their job and then what their role is, and do it a little better.
Sure. So. From my personal viewing, obviously I don't know what's going on necessarily in the locker room and on the fields, but it seemed like on the offensive line, which is obviously your department, it seems like there's a lot of rotation. There's a lot of still figuring out where guys fit, where guys work, and you had a lot of 6-year senior guys like Zavarian Furcron last year, who was a big help for your offensive line, obviously, and now you guys got to kind of retool. Do you feel that you guys are kind of feeling it right now? You guys are still kind of feeling out the kinks of, okay, we're missing a couple guys. We got to find out the perfect situation for each one of these guys. So you guys aren't necessarily reached your full potential yet.
No.
Yeah.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
There's no I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. We're still, the adversity came with, 4 guys getting dinged, bumps, bruises, twisted ankle, shoulder. One got overheated, and so rotations and moving guys around and figuring out your best lineup, and then that happens during a course of a game, and that's another thing, and next guy up, and so some guys played 70 snaps that I didn't think were going to play at all, and so there's those situations that that come up that you can't foresee, that you don't know. But again, how close you are to being on the field and playing 70 snaps in a backup role, you got to be ready to be a starter, and so unfortunately that's a learning experience that you don't want it to happen like that, and learn from it that way, in the heat of the fire, and right in the moment, it's your turn, and now they are playing real reps in their first college football game, and so it is, but as far as the lineup, we're getting healthy. We need to get healthier and get some guys back, but we got to definitely play better, and in all facets of the game, and protect the quarterback better. We need to establish the run game better, and it's after the film, watching that, it's little fundamental things, but those little fundamental things become big. That's it.
Of course.
And then just speaking of my own personal viewing, it kind of just seemed like you guys were beating yourselves up a lot more than Incarnate Word beating you guys up a lot. Just in a way, for example, I saw the punt that kind of went by the punter. That was a little difficult. But I just want to know, would you kind of say result of that game was more of you guys beating yourselves up, or would you give a lot of credit to Incarnate Word in a way as well too, or more of a mix of both?
Oh, I think hats off to Incarnate Word for they came out and made plays when they needed to, and in the course of the game, when we needed to make a play, we didn't execute that play, and you can go back in all facets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, and that's, what you can see is they executed when they needed to. We had some good plays, up and down the board on, special teams, defense, offense, and we weren't consistent enough to, justify and, think we're going to win that game, and you can't take this game for granted. You gotta be consistent, and 11 guys got to do their jobs over and over and over again, and that's what a good football team does, and they made enough plays to, keep their foot on top of us and keep us at bay, and we didn't.
All right, now on to greener pastures, because obviously that game happened in the past. We're now moving on. We got SEMO coming up now. Now, real quick, just before we touch on SEMO and that rivalry coming up, real quick. Hartrip, is he still out for next week? Have you heard any word on what's going on with him and where he's at in his progression, getting healthy?
Yeah, that's up to the doctors and the coach.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about injuries, or can won't even talk about injuries. That's not for me to know or you guys to know, and it's day to day. We got to get some guys back. I do know that.
Yeah.
The guys that are dinged up right now after camp, and they're out right now, and so I know they're working hard to get back.
Okay, gotcha. Just want to check in with you real quick.
I just kind of want to know, what are you kind of seeing on the film in the film room with SEMO right now? What are you going to try to take advantage of? I don't know if you've kind of dived too much deep into it. I mean, it's only Tuesday today, but
it's only Tuesday, but there's a lot of a lot of the game plan is being put together with with the coaches. A short trip. We got in at 4:30 in the morning. After the rain delay, and so we were right back in Sunday, and game planning these guys. How important and how big of a rivalry this game is, and playing for the wheel, and and so take records, take anything that's happened last year, the week before, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. It's going to be a middle of freaking ring, haymakers being thrown. It's going to be a big old fight. That's what each team approaches it, and it's that's what makes it a great rivalry, and I've felt it, being new here and, hearing the stories and seeing the games and, I don't know if you call it hatred or, just a lot of respect, being so close to each other. And, it's exciting to have one of those rivalry games. You play for a trophy, you play for something, and it's fun for the kids,
Yeah. Yeah, you really dived deep in that rivalry, You think winning that, you think it's real, it's something for the team, something you think that's really winning that game will really give you guys, confidence heading forward, really thinking that, especially after a tough loss against Incarnate Word, getting the wheel, keeping the wheel here and really getting that is really going to push you guys forward to almost do a correction on where the season was headed after Sunday, obviously.
No question. I think, the cliche of winning fixes a lot of things is, both teams are coming off a loss and, really could feel would really feel good with a win. That's, what both teams are striving for. And I think, it gets you when you get knocked down and we'll see who can come this Saturday and respond a little bit, better. I think that's what we're, coaches really pushing for our guys is to really reflect on, your job and what you did and how you approach the game, little things and how you prepared. We didn't prepare, as a man, did you prepare well enough? Is your body ready to play? And so, you peel back a lot of layers when you come after a loss. And so, we'll see. I think we had a good practice today. Guys were, flying around today a little bit more focused. And so, they got to continue that throughout the week. And so, that's what we're striving for.
Mm-hmm. Now, this year's game, War for the Wheel, that's at home this year. Last year, you guys went over there and handed them a huge loss, big time. Just what's that going to do even more, knowing you guys handed them a really big loss last year, and now you're at home. You think you could, I don't want to say replicate some type of performance like that, but at least use that as inspiration, also knowing that you're at home as well?
Yeah, I think, if we can take care of our business, have a good week of practice, you saw what happened to us on Saturday, and we were thinking we were going to be on the other end of that one. And so I don't think you can take the game for granted. I think you prepare well, and good things happen. You put yourself in really good positions and to execute big plays, explosives, consistent drives. We had way too many penalties. Just really. Inopportune time for, penalties inside the red zone, and that just can't happen, and so, if we take care of business that way, who knows how the game can go. But, and Coach says it the best, you never want to get too high, you never want to get too low, all right? You can't get too low after a loss, you got to go right back to work. If you can't get too high after last year, you just can't think SEMO's going to roll in here and they're going to roll over and they're not going to, they're going to, come out fighting like we are. And so, we got to take care of our business and stay locked in on, the object at hand.
You talked a little bit about focus in the question that I asked you a little bit ago, and that just made me think about, where that line for a coach like yourself, where's that line at with focus? Because obviously, you push the kids a little bit too hard, they're going to get a little bit aggravated at you, maybe not want to take orders from somebody, but, doing that. But obviously against a game where you've lost against Incarnate Word, stuff like that, you think that reels in the player itself, or is it the coach's job to really get in their mind mentally and really say, hey guys, it's time to focus. I don't care what you think. It's time. It's go time. We really got to put in this effort, this practice, in order to really kick SEMO's butts next weekend and show everybody who's lost.
Absolutely. I think as a coach, you look at how guys take a loss. Number one, some guys were, take losses harder than others. I mean, and sometimes that's just the way, kids are. Some, are just different that way. And so you for my first game, seeing them, how they handled a loss, and is important to me, and I know it matters to them. They weren't happy, they were embarrassed, they were everything that they should have been, because that's what we put out there. It was. And so how they go back to work, how they watch film, how they study, how they'll prepare better, and that's the focus we're looking for. And how people handle wins and how people handle losses is a great reflection of their character, and I think it kind of goes into coaching, how we handle losses. We can't sink the ship, go to say and just say, come off the wall and berate and just yell, because you'll lose a team. You can lose a team, but you also want to make sure you're firm and understanding, and we got to be firm and understanding of they make sure they know their job and what they were supposed to do, and really peel back the film and study ourselves, and it kind of is a collective understanding, after a loss, and how do you handle that the next day.
Alrighty, well, that's pretty much all the questions that we got for you, Coach Dan Clark, offensive line coach for the Southern Illinois Salukis. Thank you so much for being a part of the first
Cole.
ever
Thanks, Joey.
interview
Appreciate
segment
it.
for us, and we hope to do it again sometime. So thanks
For
so
sure,
much.
anytime. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty. All right, everybody, welcome back to our first ever Told You So segment. Told You So meaning me and Joey here are going to show you the college football and the NFL underdogs, and we're going to tell you which ones you should bet on. First up on the college landscape, we should probably touch on the college game day. We got Texas facing off against the number 1 Alabama. Now, personally, myself, I'm a Texas fan, so I like to stay hopeful. That being said, don't expect Bama to let this one go up easy. I'd love it if they could pull off an upset. And Texas offense is legit this year, but unfortunately, Bama's defense plus offensive firepower is just too much for them to muster.
Alabama looked really good last week.
They blew the tires off of Utah State. Another one to keep your eye on. Wouldn't exactly go running your money to the bank, but South Carolina versus Arkansas. Arkansas is a sneaky good SEC East team this year, but so is South Carolina, and South Carolina revamped their offense with the addition of Spencer Rattler and a couple other weapons on the offensive side. That being said, wouldn't go too much. Kind of under the radar game with Vanderbilt versus Wake Forest. I've really liked what I've seen from Vanderbilt this year, and with Wake Forest's quarterback Sam Hartman looking to miss time, we don't exactly know where Wake Forest is going to be at this year, so you might want to place that on Vandy this week.
And is Wake Forest going to be ranked after this week?
Yes,
still?
Wake Forest should still be ranked. Obviously, we don't know what the AP poll, not coming out yet at the time of recording, but still. Houston, coming off a really close game last week where they just managed to win in triple overtime. They're playing a revamped Texas Tech team this year, and this is a surprising one because the line is favoring Texas Tech, even though Houston is the only one that's ranked. But I think there may be a reason behind that, but I'd still bet the house on Houston because they just have too much talent coming back. Tennessee versus Pitt. This one's going to be highlighted on a lot of people's schedules this weekend. Tennessee is getting a lot of hype. They've gotten a lot of recruits behind Josh Heupel. Hendon Hooker is the guy. Cedric Tillman is also really, really good, but they're not better than Pitt.
Ranked 17 Pitt.
That's right. They're legit, and besides a interesting backyard brawl last weekend, Pitt's going to come back and want to try and turn some heads and prove people wrong. And another one to keep our eyes on is ranked Kentucky versus currently, once again, unranked Florida. But Florida, once again, getting a lot of hype between a team that already was ranked last week.
Anthony Richardson.
That's right. Anthony Richardson is him.
Big upset.
Yes. Anthony Richardson pulled off an incredible game against number 7 Utah this past week. Expect them to be ranked. That being said, Kentucky is a very, very legit SEC team, and I think a lot of people are going to be really high on Florida after their game against Utah. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have an amazing season. I'd honestly go with Kentucky in that one between the duel of future pro quarterbacks.
On the road, too?
On the road. I really like Kentucky's odds against this one. People are doubting them. They played a just regular FCS opponent, and everybody's going to be high on Florida. Florida's not that great. Anthony Richardson is great. Florida's not that great. In the final game, this one even surprised me that it is considered an upset, but top 10 ranked Baylor is going to be facing off against, presumably, top 25 ranked BYU. And somehow, right now, BYU is the favorite. I don't see that. I know people are high on BYU. I like their quarterback, Jaron Hall. I love their coach. But Baylor has that guy in Blake Sharpen. Blake Sharpen knows how to move within the pocket. He knows how to disperse the ball when and where. I really don't understand the Baylor non-hype train. So right now Baylor's the underdog, and I'd bet big on Baylor. And then obviously just a little Heisman watch that we should go ahead and talk about. Obviously Anthony Richardson, we mentioned earlier, he's having a great season. I mean, if you watch that game and if you watch that 2-point conversion play, you know exactly how good Anthony Richardson's going to be.
360 yards.
That's right. He's going to be atop of a lot of NFL mock drafts. Another guy to keep your eye on is Stetson Bennett. He was, I've never been a big Stetson Bennett guy, but that game against Oregon really kind of changed my mind. He's really flowing within the offense right now, and he might even, I'm worried we're going to start seeing a little bit of a Joe Burrow type thing with him where nobody really projects him to get drafted, and if so, late round, but we could see him sneak up the boards, just because he throws a good ball. He's very mobile, a little undersized, but I think he's got a lot to do. And Joey, tell me what you think about first week of NFL this week.
Oh, I was just going to say, maybe Stetson looks like he might be the next Lions QB next year. I don't know, maybe, but,
There you go.
Just really excited about the NFL season coming up here. I cannot tell you how excited I am just to watch NFL football again. If you know me, you know I love me some NFL. I spend all Sundays just watching football, so real excited about that. But first game of the year, we got Bills versus Rams, season opener. I'm really hype on the Bills train this year. Josh Allen is one of the better quarterbacks in the league now. He's kind of like one of the better odds for MVP this year. Dude has that dog in him, I'll tell you that. But Bills, they also have the number 1 ranked defense, and I think a lot of people forget about that. I think they'll have the firepower to just kind of, I don't want to say stop, but maybe limit the Rams' offense. And then without OBJ this year, they're going through some changes. I know they got Allen Robinson as well. Bills are favored to win, but I think Stafford and company are going to keep it close. I think it'll be kind of a high-scoring game, but at the end, I think the Bills will be able to keep Kupp contained on the Rams' offense. And my prediction, I got the Bills winning 28, Rams 24.
Plus, there's a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover with the Rams. There's a lot of signs pointing towards that's kind of what they're facing this season. Really, really talented roster, but I think it's a safe bet that Bills will come away with the win on this Thursday.
For sure, and I think just the emotions of hanging up that banner throughout the night. I don't know if they get their rings tonight or not, but just all the emotions and everything. There's a lot of other stuff that Rams players are thinking about tonight other than the game. I just think safe bet, Bills win, easy. But next, I wanted to get into some of the drama of the Browns and Panthers game, specifically with Baker Mayfield. That situation was really interesting for sure. He seems to be enjoying his new team so far with the Panthers. He looks really good in that slick blue. So I'm kind of excited to see how he performs with the Panthers. Even though the Panthers might not be the best team this year, I'm just real excited about a new change for Baker Mayfield. I think it'll be a fun revenge game for him against the Browns, how they have a real dysfunctional organization right now. I just think the Panthers are going to be able to take advantage of that at their home stadium with the Browns just not really sure what their identity is right now. I'm real confused about them. Panthers just have a young team with lots of players coming back off an injury from last season. I know I got on my list here. McCaffrey's obviously the big name that's coming back, but I know J.C. Horn is another underdog name that people forget about. He was a rookie last year, rookie safety. Brian Burns, and then our own Salukis guy, Jeremy Chin. He's obviously on the team still. So that defense, I feel like they can kind of limit the Browns' offense without Deshaun Watson. So really excited to see that game.
I agree.
And DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson as wideouts for Baker. I just think that they'll be the deep threats that Baker needs. My prediction, I'm going to go Panthers 30, Browns 20. I think that score might be a little deceiving, though, because I feel like it might be a little bit more of a blowout than people might think, just because Browns are just so dysfunctional right now. Panthers, they're at home, new quarterback. I think things will look well this week, at least for them.
Yeah, Panthers really, people are down on them right now, especially with their quarterback controversy that happened last year and bleeding into this year. Baker can tend to be a pretty emotional guy. There's definitely problems with the offensive line, but I think there's a lot of stuff if you're a Panthers fan and, if you guys stay healthy, which obviously in football is very hard to do, but if you guys stay healthy, there's a universe in which Carolina in a weak NFC sneaks into that number 7 spot in the playoff. I mean, I think that the Panthers are really, really underrated in a lot of different positions, and I think they're kind of going to surprise some people this year with how high they do end up falling on the draft boards.
And they got 2 games a year against the Falcons, so I feel like that's
exactly. Yeah, bad division.
Bad division, exactly.
Arguably the worst division, but yeah.
Next, we got another divisional matchup here, Packers and Vikings. If you know me, I'm a huge Packers fan, so might sound a little biased here when I'm talking about them, but here we go. Back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers. He's going to start his season without Devontae. Devontae definitely carried him a little bit last year to his MVP season, but I still think Rodgers has that dog in him, per se, and can go back-to-back-to-back MVP. He certainly has the ability to. I'm not predicting it for sure. Packers, the last couple of years, have had a bit of trouble, honestly, when kind of traveling to Minneapolis. So I'm a little worried about that. I know they lost 3 years in a row in 2016, 17, and 18. So that concerns me a little bit, and that's also where Rodgers had his collarbone injury, so that's a real big heartbreak for me, personally. But Packers defense, they're going to be one of the top groups in the year.
Very
Extremely amazing. They've been putting pieces together for the last decade with that, and I think it's starting to pay off these past couple seasons. So they got Devondre Campbell, Preston Smith, Jair Alexander. They're going to be a top group this year, and with a lot of guys even coming back from injury, I just think that young core is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Picking off balls, fumbling, sacks, it'll be all over the place. So I think this year might be a little different. The defense might be starting to carry the Packers. And talking about the Vikings, I think they're overrated. Kirk Cousins.
A lot of noise this offseason.
Yes, a lot of noise, but I think it's just that. It's noise. Kirk Cousins just can't be trusted, I feel like. Justin Jefferson seems to always bail him out, along with Adam Thielen sometimes. And then Dalvin Cook, he's so injury prone. I just don't know what to think of him. I can't predict anything more than a 9-8 season, I guess now.
Wow.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, see, I'm on the opposite spectrum. Vikings, a lot of pieces, offensive-minded head coach. Kirk Cousins, certainly, he's not great, especially in big moments, but Kirk Cousins will win you regular season games with an offensive-minded coach. They got Mike Zimmer out of there. I'd say addition by subtraction. 9-8 is really low. I think that's very low. That might be some Packers hate bleeding into the pick right there.
Probably a little bit.
But I'm actually the opposite. I'm fully on the Vikings beating the Packers on week 1, but I guess we'll end up and seeing next week.
Well, that's why you're not the NFL. But I'm definitely going to go Packers 24, Vikings 17. I think Green Bay is going to hold off for the win as long as the defense holds up to the hype. And Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, if they live up to the hype that they were last season, they were very, very balanced on that run game. Next game of the week, I'm really anticipated about this game. I just think it'll be really exciting. Raiders versus Chargers in LA. It's a rematch of that Week 18 game from last year that was kind of crazy. Everybody wanted that to be a tie just so the Steelers could get in because that was just a crazy scenario. I loved that game, so I'm really excited about a rematch, possibly this one. And these two teams really added some new people, new players, I should say, this past offseason on both sides. Obviously, my favorite player, Devontae Adams, real heartbreak that he's on the Raiders now. It's going to be real hard getting used to watching him in the silver and black. But I'll make do with it, whatever. Khalil Mack, he's on the Chargers. J.C. Jackson is also on the Chargers. Chandler Jones is on the Raiders. And Rock Ya-Sin, Bilal Nichols from the Bears, if you're a Bears fan. And Josh McDaniels is the new head coach for the Raiders. I feel like that might be adding to their offensive firepower just because of his success over in New England.
That's true.
But Justin Herbert, J. Herbo, I think he's going to be one of the bigger names for MVP this year. I think everyone...
Sneaky pick. I think that one, if the Chargers finally get it done this year, because everybody's been waiting on the Chargers for the past 3 seasons, yeah, Justin Herbert's a safe bet for MVP.
Oh, yeah. Just like, I feel like him and Josh Allen might be in the running for a long time in the race this year.
Mm-hmm.
But is Devontae going to be enough for the Raiders to get over that jump?
Well, you got Hunter Renfrow.
And Hunter Renfrow and Josh Jacobs. I mean, maybe that offense...
Darren Waller, if he can pull it together.
For sure. And maybe that offense might find some more balance a little bit this year just with Devontae on the team. Because we all know he's a stud and he can make plays every single game that no other wide receiver can make.
That's true.
I also love the coaching matchup. I just think it'll be really good rivalry game for the next couple of years. I think it'll be close. I'm picking the Chargers 31, Raiders 30, but really it could go either way. I just think the Chargers right now have a little bit more firepower, and with Justin Herbert, I think he'll be able to get it done first day.
This game kind of brings up an interesting point. Is what does your AFC West look like? Do you think Raiders finish in the top part of half or the bottom half? I mean, people are high on about everybody's got a different top 4, so.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to go with Chiefs first, Chargers second, Raiders third, but I do think the Raiders will probably sneak into the playoffs.
So Broncos are finishing as your last.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are high on the Broncos right now.
That's a discussion for another day.
I know, I don't blame you. I mean, I think it's safe to say, even with how good the AFC is this year, I think there's no way that 3 teams don't make it out of the AFC West. There's even a chance that it's the first team that ever produces 4. I think that's really hard to do when you're playing so many teams in division, but loaded. It might be one of the best divisions ever. So
I'd be very surprised if only 2 teams make it to the playoffs this year. So that would be a really interesting divisional race once the time comes.
Exactly.
But next game. Bucks versus Cowboys. This is a rematch of the season opener last year, except this time it's in Jerry World in Dallas.
Jerry World. I like that.
Bucks, they're the oldest team in the league, and I think people forget about that a lot. But also maybe that number might be skewed just because of Tom Brady as well, because he's so old.
45
Bucks, oldest team in the league, traveling. I think that kind of does something to the old body. So that's a sneaky reason why the Bucks might not be the best this year if they have to travel a little bit more. And what in the world is Brady doing still in the NFL? I'm just like, how can this guy still continue performing at this type of level?
He wishes he was on the Dolphins. That's what he's still doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All this talk with MVP, and of course Brady might still be top 2 or 3 in the race. You just never know with him anymore. But also, Mike McCarthy coaching with the Cowboys, who knows how that's going to be. I mean, as much as I think the Cowboys will probably win this game, to be honest, is Mike McCarthy going to just ruin it for them all?
You know what I think of this game? I think you're picking between 2 turds right now, especially week 1. I think you got the Cowboys have just 2. I don't like the Cowboys in any sort of way. I like Eagles in the NFC East, isn't it? Yeah, NFC East. And the Bucks, I haven't liked any of the noise I've heard in the offseason. Tom Brady taking a long thing. There's apparently rumors of him and Giselle really not on the same page right now. I mean, I really think that I know what you're going to pick, and I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well. But this game is just kind of, it's going to be a messy one, to say the least. I think that's fair to say.
I'm not real confident in the Cowboys' defense, specifically with Trayvon Diggs. I think he is completely overrated, not going to lie.
Yeah.
And
That
the
creates
Bucks,
turnovers, nothing else.
for sure. And the Bucks offensive line, I just don't know how they're going to be able to protect Brady. They've had some injuries this offseason that are going to be tough to overcome. So Brady doesn't typically do very well early weeks in the season, so that's why I'm kind of leaning towards the Cowboys. Once he gets a couple games going, I think that old body gets moving a little bit.
I completely agree. It's Brady.
He'll start to put it in later in the season. So I'm going to go Cowboys 34, Bucks 30. But it'll be a close one. I think Brady always figures out some way anyways to make it close. So I'm going Cowboys.
I really agree.
But now I want to go into a bold prediction I have.
It's a hot one, folks.
For the season. I really think this might put the hairs up on people's arms a little bit. I believe Jalen Hurts can have an MVP-type season that is similar to Lamar Jackson's from 2018 when he won his MVP season. There's no reason to think that he can't put up at least similar stats to Lamar Jackson. He showed some decent signs last year being a formidable passer. I guess just the idea with this take is that he's going to progress a little bit from the offseason. Having a true offseason per se, because he was drafted in that 2020 COVID season.
That's true.
And then didn't really have a true, real offseason to get things going. So I believe this might turn his gas on. And he's got this firepower to go along with it. He just got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith in his second year. And he was already amazing his first year. Dallas Goedert. I mean, and not to mention they got the best rush attack in football. I mean, what more could you ask for a young quarterback like Jalen Hurts?
Little high hopes for me. But I could see Jalen Hurts definitely having a breakout year for sure. But Jalen Hurts is to the point where we're calling him a top 12 quarterback?
I mean,
well, you don't think that's a little high?
Right now, I would say he's top 12, and he's probably 12 right now. But I feel like
not even before the season.
Right now, I would say so.
Wow. Anyways, yeah. I mean,
I can see the flames coming out of your ears.
No, I mean, listen. If you're telling me that Jalen Hurts is going to take a leap, I'd probably agree with you. But I could also, you could tell me that Philadelphia in Week 6 pulls the panic button and trades for Jimmy G because they want somebody in there who can really run the offense. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. You're really high on Jalen Hurts, and I respect it because I love Jalen Hurts at Alabama and even at Oklahoma. But the pro guy, I don't know. But
I mean, he already put up about an 87. I think it was an 87 passer rating last year, and that was definitely way better than the season before.
That's right. No, he shows improvement every year. He's somebody who definitely is determined to get better. He's a good leader in the locker room. I like Jalen Hurts. I don't want to make it come out like I don't like Jalen Hurts, but just very, very lofty expectations, to say the least.
Now, I do want to be clear, this isn't my MVP pick. I just believe that he'll have an MVP-type season, just like Lamar Jackson. I think he'll be in the running for a little while, but I think it'll probably go
else. I mean, who knows? I mean, narrative pushes, and Philadelphia has a sneaky, really great year, so if that happens, who knows? We could be looking at this in January, February, and I could look like the biggest idiot in the world, but also goes both ways, don't you say?
We'll see.
We will see.
We'll see.
All right, thank you everybody for listening to the first ever episode of the Inside Sports Podcast. That is DE capitalized. I am your host, Cole Daly, and then this is my co-host, Joey Bernard. We are both editors here for the sports section at the Daily Egyptian. Be sure to check out our newspaper, either online at thedailyegyptian.com, or you can see them all around campus. Thanks so much for listening. Have a good one.